What if I told you that renting out cars could replace your 9 to 5, earn you a six-figure income, and be your key to financial freedom? Well, I myself have done over $300,000 in revenue in 2024 and plan on getting to even up to $500,000 in 2025. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I've done it, no fluff at all, and every step of the way that you need. Now, I know what you're thinking. It sounds way too good to be true. Well, I myself started in 2020 with only 2 cars, and I've worked my way up to over 55 cars in 2024 and plan to expand up to 65 to 70 in 2025. And I have the receipts to show it, so stay tuned and make sure you watch till the very end because I'm going to show you exactly how I've done this. And the best part, most of it was done on autopilot in recent years. Here's the deal, guys. I've done over $300,000 in revenue over the last year and was able to pay myself a 6-figure income just off renting cars. And guess what? There's no luck involved with this. It's all about strategy. And in this video, I'm going to give you my 3 core moves that could completely transform your business. So make sure you watch closely because any one of these could be a game changer. So guys, just to give you accurate numbers, I was able to pay myself over 6 figures renting cars, and I have over 30 cars on Turo alone, and then I do private rentals and also rent cars out on Hire Car. And between all of those, I did over $300,000 in revenue, and like I said, paid myself 6 figures. And core move number 1, build a smart fleet. That is so important in this business. People want to know why it's important. Well, a lot of people think you need luxury cars or exotic vehicles to make serious money. That is not true. The key is to understanding your market and matching your fleet demand. Guys, think about your fleet as a toolbox and think about a car like a Toyota Camry, for example. It's not flashy, it's not the fanciest, but it is reliable and it gets the job done. And that's what I want you to think about when you look at your Turo fleet. Each one of your cars in your rental car fleet is a tool in the toolbox. And tools don't have to be fancy, they don't have to be designer, they don't have to have Louis Vuitton written around on the screwdriver, or, you know, whatever the fanciest brands are. I've never been a huge flashy brand guy. But my point is, your cars are just like tools and they need to be reliable, number 1, and they need to match your customer demand. Now, how did I build a smart fleet? Well, number 1, I bought the right cars at the beginning. So I started out with only 2 cars back in 2020. I know it seems pretty crazy to start in 2020 to have 55 now, but it's been a long road and I've learned a lot about the car industry to get there. So I started out with 2 vehicles and I actually rented out on the hardest platform, which is Hire Car. Now, Hire Car can be one of the most profitable platforms, but it's one of the most difficult to learn. 1, it's harder to deal with insurance with them. You really have to know how to talk to them or you're not going to get paid. And the guests you can deal with are going to be a little bit more nightmarish than your average Turo guest. And you know, I've done private rentals too, but we'll save that for another video. But like I said, make sure you start small. You want to start with 2 reliable mid-range cars that are affordable to maintain. Now, ideally, you buy these cars cash. You can finance cars, but honestly, when you're talking about economy cars and you're starting out small, I really recommend having $8,000 to $10,000 saved and then starting at that point instead of putting yourself in debt from the beginning because it's only going to make it harder to grow. And I also have some other interesting ways to help you get financed where you're not taking on high loan payments, which are really the biggest thing that eats your profits in Turo. But we'll get to that later. And when purchasing these cars, you want to make sure that you research the demand in your area. Turo is a very segmented type of business, and so is the rental car industry at whole. And like I said, I rent on Turo, Hire Car, and do private rentals. And I've done Getaround before, but I don't use them anymore because I think Hire Car is a little bit better when it comes to Getaround for a few reasons, but it's not important for this video. But things you want to do, take a look at your area. See what kind of people are in the area and who you plan on being your main clientele. Are they going to be business people traveling in? Are they going to be families going on vacation? Are they going to be locals looking for an everyday ride? Well, in my area, which is Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, I discovered it is locals looking for an everyday ride. I do get a mix of people traveling to Pittsburgh, but I would say they account for only 30% of my business, where 70% in my core business is locals looking for a car for numerous reasons. Some have cars that break down, and now they need to get a car in the meantime to get to work. Or pick up their kids. Some of them don't have a car and they will rent the car to say go grocery shopping or for an event with family. But I really found out through market research using Turo's tools, which those are available to you for free online, and then some other tools that I've paid to use that do market analysis and research, that economy cars are the way to go in my area. I've worked with other clients at carrentalcoach.com and done market analysis for them, and I've discovered that different cars work in their markets that wouldn't work in mine, and I found some that are very similar in the same types of cars in my market that work for them, work for me. So if you guys want us to do a market analysis for you or have any questions about how to get started in this business, you can go to carrentalcoach.com, fill out our quick 60-second survey, and see if you qualify to work with us. And if you do, we'll get you started, do the market analysis, and walk you through every step of the way to guarantee you success. Like I said, guys, the research phase is so important, and most of the people I work with at Car Rental Coach that are having problems and they're not being profitable with their Turo fleet or hire car fleet or private rental fleet is they didn't do research on their market. They bought cars that they thought were cool, cars that they wanted to drive, cars that, you know, seem a little bit more impressive. I mean, it's cool to be able to say, oh yeah, I have a fleet of BMWs, and people are like, wow, that's really great. That guy must have some money. But then behind the scenes, you're actually burning cash after depreciation and maintenance, and realizing that for the cost of that BMW X5, you could have maybe bought 3 economy cars that would have almost tripled the revenue of the flashier car. And believe me, I messed up at points in my career, and I'd probably be even further ahead if I didn't start out with getting a few BMWs. So I originally started with those 2 cash economy cars, made some money, decided I wanted to buy a BMW because I like BMWs, and that car ended up being a headache for me and lost me money. And you know, if I could take it back, I would, but I learned from my mistakes and I don't make the same one twice. So am I mad that I did it? No, because it only reinforced my beliefs that economy cars are the way to go. And now it's no question for me on what cars that you need to scale your fleet, at least for the Pittsburgh area. But like I said, every one of my clients and other Turo hosts I talk to nationwide, every market's different, and that's why that research phase is so imperative. And the last part about building a smart fleet is scaling strategically. I can't tell you how many people chase scale and become less profitable because of it. Sometimes you might actually be better having 10 cars versus 20 cars, depending on your labor costs, your cost to then store these vehicles, additional insurance costs, not having a mechanic that can, you know, fit all of these cars into their schedule. So as you scale, make sure you scale strategically. Don't go out there just buying 20 cars at one time before you understand the platforms and how they work and the type of revenue you can actually make. And don't also take bad money. Not all money is good money. Don't make payments of $900 per month on each car. It's going to be hard to be profitable. You want to source these cars smart and strategically. So really, I recommend sometimes, you know, maybe just pausing at that 5 cars for the first year, or even 10 cars for the first year, and waiting to scale, even if you have the funds, until you get to look at your numbers. You talk to your bookkeeper, you start learning about the tax write-offs, you learn about how to take out the proper loans and financing to then get these cars at an affordable rate where there's still room to make a positive ROI. Don't go for vanity numbers where you just want to say, I have a 50-car fleet, I have a 100-car fleet, because that guy maybe with a 30-car fleet could be burning you and making way more money, even though it doesn't look as flashy on paper saying I have, you know, 20 or 30 cars versus over 60. He could be making more money. So scale strategically. Don't grow too fast. You're going to run into issues along the way. You're going to need people to fix these cars. You're going to need places to store these cars. You're going to need to know how to negotiate insurance. And there are a lot of problems that can happen if you don't have the right mentor or if you don't know what you're doing personally. So if you're getting into this business, make sure you do your research. Make sure you move at a comfortable pace. You know, the turtle beat the hare, right? And I believe that's true in business to a certain extent. I like to move pretty fast, and to be completely honest, full transparency, I've thrown myself into situations head first, and somehow I've worked my way out of them a lot of the times, but sometimes I've been burned by them. So guys, I can't stress that enough. Scale strategically. And remember, like I said, you're going to run into some issues. One is storing the cars. So when you first start, I recommend just doing them at your house if you have a driveway or a street for like 1 or 2 cars. Obviously, you don't want to have any neighbors on high alert because you fill up the street with 15 vehicles and they see strange people coming in at all hours of the night to come pick them up. That's not how you want to do it. But for anybody, I'd say even under 5 cars, start at your house or at a friend's house or some area that's free to park them at. I've heard hosts even putting their cars in Walmart parking lots and Target parking lots and stuff like that to start, so they're not paying the storage fees, and then they just put a lockbox on them for when someone picks them up, so they'll get the booking, they'll drive it from their house to a local Walmart, then they'll either walk home or Uber. I recommend doing that or at your house to start, because the key to this business is keeping your overhead low. You don't need some flashy office space when you only have 2 to 3 cars. Make it make sense. And there's nothing illegal about renting these cars out from your house, depending on, your neighborhood, or maybe there's some HOA rules or anything. So unless you have a weird situation like that, it's not a problem to do. It's just you want to keep it pretty low key. You don't want a lot of attention on you. Obviously, neighbors aren't going to like tons of traffic coming in and out and strange people walking down their street. I mean, who would, right? But to keep your overhead low, at least the first couple months, do it from your house or a free area where you can put the cars. Keep your overhead low, save your money, and take that money to then reinvest in more vehicles. I started out with doing them at my house, but then as I got bigger, I was able to rent an actual lot and build an office space in downtown Pittsburgh, which was really exciting to do. And it was a big deal, I'm not going to lie, when I got to see the big sign with my rental company name. And I do like coming into my office, going over to my espresso machine, drinking a cup of coffee, looking at my money plant in the corner, and then also seeing my signed Batman Dark Knight poster by Heath Ledger and Christian Bale. You don't need to get one of those to be successful in Turo when first scaling and getting that space. And it does feel good, and it's well earned. It took me 3 years before I got to that point where I could actually afford a nice space like that. And I don't regret it now, because it's a great place for my employees and me to get together and work. We actually just had a holiday Christmas party, and it was really cool being able to bring everybody together and talk about our successful year and then make plans for 2025 and how we can grow this thing even more. So it is nice to have the office, don't get me wrong. I have one myself, but at first, do it from your house, free parking lot, keep that overhead low. And then when it comes to sourcing these cars, well, I get them from auctions, and we actually do that as part of our car rental coach program. If you work with us in our one-on-one coaching, we actually can get you your cars from auctions too, so we pass those savings on to you. I get all my vehicles from auctions or trade-ins from the dealerships, bank repossessed, and then once in a while, still go on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist, depending on the deal. And I have a team of people that are constantly searching for this, so it's more hands-off for me. They present me a good deal, and if it's at least 15 to 20% under market value, we usually grab it if it's a car that I've been eyeing up. And then when sourcing the cars with funds, I've done a lot of different mixes, so I've been lucky enough that I was able to save up a lot of cash to buy cars. That's one thing I did. Another thing, I was able to take out certain credit cards that were interest-free for up to 15 months. That was huge. I took over $50,000 out in credit cards where the interest wasn't due for over 15 months. So I was able to pay off the cards before the balance was actually due, which was really great when first starting out. And another thing about these credit cards, I got $1,000 cash bonuses. So it was like buying each car for $1,000 off. And then I was able to set up my business correctly, which was a little complicated at first. I talked to a lot of lawyers, done a lot of research, but now I understand it like the back of my hand. I realized how to structure it, so I was able to take out an SBA loan where I was able to get over 150 grand to expand the fleet at only a payment of $1,000 a month, guys. Some people pay $800 a month for one car. So I was able to buy 15 cars with that with only $1,000 a month payment. And I could do the same for you guys if we work together. But really, about sourcing the cars, keep your overhead low, like I said. Now, let's move on to core move number 2. Treat this like a business and not a side hustle. So why is treating this like a business and not a side hustle important? Well, this isn't just about listing cars and hoping for bookings. It's about running the numbers, optimizing processes, and building a system that works for you. So imagine you opening up a bakery, but instead of looking at how much the ingredients are costing you to make your cookies at this bakery, you decide, well, I'm just gonna make the cookies. I don't care about what the milk costs or the sugar or the eggs. I just wanna make the best cookies ever and charge whatever. Well, you might end up with some really good cookies, but you're gonna be out of business in a month. And the same thing goes for any business, but especially the car rental business, because you're dealing with not only dealing with positive cash flow, you gotta make sure you gotta watch out for depreciation on these cars. So knowing your numbers is crucial. So how did I do it? Well, I track everything from maintenance costs to profit per car, and I track every single dollar. I also create systems. I automate my messages. I use apps to streamline check-ins, and I outsource my cleaning on these cars to save time. And number 3, I reinvest profits. Instead of pocketing all the earnings, I reinvested 50% back into the business to grow my fleet faster year over year. So guys, tracking everything is important. What I do, I have somebody that is a bookkeeper for me that gives me updates on my profit and loss every single week, and they help me with depreciation on the cars. They track every expense. I used to do it myself, and I actually do have a background in finance. That's what I went to school for at Penn State. We are, for any Penn State fans watching. And if you don't like Penn State, don't hold it against me. But I recommend using a software such as QuickBooks. That's what I use. That's where we put all of our receipts in. That's where we track all of our expenses, and that made my life a lot easier. You can find a good bookkeeper for a few $100s a month. It's something I suggest you don't skimp on, especially when you get maybe to the over 5-car realm. I think you can do a good job at just doing your own finances under 5 cars, but when you really want to grow the business, you don't want to be there sitting down at the end of the day, you're exhausted and doing all of the books. Or if you have a partner, a spouse, or a business partner that's good with that, have them do it. But the thing is, you want to be the one focusing on the growth of the business, the big opportunities. And when you're tied into working on the business, it's hard to do that. Like I said, I create systems with this too. Systems save you time. Without systems, you have nothing. I have automated messages that go out to every guest that automate the entire check-in process, from insurance to making sure that their license is verified, to helping them when there's problems with the cars. When I first started, I was hand typing every single message to these guests, and it was driving me crazy. People messaging me, oh, where's the car at? Can I extend it? Well, I worked hard on it, and I created a system that makes it hands-off with communicating with guests. Sure, there's the occasional message that pops up that we'll have to look at and help them because it's such a specific, weird question. But overall, we probably cut down on our messaging rates with guests by 90% by setting up our automated system with it. And when it comes to cleaning the cars, I cleaned every single one of my cars until we got up to 20 cars. And then I thought, well, I think my time can be better spent. I don't mind getting down and dirty. I'll scrub these cars clean. You know, I believe sometimes in business you have to work in the trenches, but when you want to grow, you got to get somebody to do some of that work for you, or you're never going to be able to make it to that next level, and you're always going to be working in your business. And I didn't really want to just clean cars the rest of my life. I thought my skill set is a little bit higher than that, which I know it is, and not putting down anybody that's detailing cars, but it's a start, and it's not a bad job. But when you want to grow the business, you don't want to worry about scrubbing every single car. And I've seen some dirty ones too. Sure, those cleaning fees you get are very nice. You can get those through private rentals or through Turo. Sometimes 150. When you do it private, you can even get up to like 300 sometimes. And I've had people smoke in my cars. There's been human piss in the cars. And how do I know it's human? Well, it didn't smell like animal. Let's just say that. And there were some other indicators, like some depends in the vehicle. It's pretty gross. But I've even had human blood in the cars. That one was only happened one time, so don't get too scared about that. That is not a regular occurrence. Somebody actually got shot in one of our vehicles by a police officer. That was a freak one. But you don't want to clean that. Even if it's a quick sweep, you want to outsource that at a certain point. For me, it was once I hit 20 cars, but everybody has different goals. But at some point, you're going to have to give up a piece of that pie and pay somebody to do some of those jobs so you can worry about getting more cars and building out this business so you can pay yourself 6 figures like I have. Like I said, guys, I reinvested the profits. I could have paid myself more than what I've paid myself, to be honest. But you know, my living expenses aren't too high. I'm happy with the 6-figure income. You know, I could have thrown myself a decent bit of more money, but I wanted to keep growing the business. And if I pay myself all the profits, well, I'm never going to be able to grow and, you know, make multiple 6 figures paying myself from the business. So I'm thinking about future me, and I'm looking at this as an investment. Just like somebody buying real estate properties. Sure, you could pay yourself all of the cash flow from your real estate, or you could take that money and make another down payment on a house and then continue to grow. So by the time, you know, 10, 20 years go by, you're able to start becoming a millionaire. And that's what I plan on doing with this business. So I still pay myself very well. I paid myself 6 figures in 2024 and going to do the same thing in 2025, but I was still able to save a decent bit of money to keep growing the fleet and buying more cars. And I always believe to save a little bit of money for each car you have in your fleet, just in case something goes wrong, so you don't have to put more money into the business, because I'm not in the business to lose money, and nobody should be. All right, guys, in core move number 3, this is going to be mastering the customer experience. You've heard it before, the customer is king, and I'm gonna tell you why it's important. You could have the best fleet in your city, but if no one knows about it, or worse, renters have a bad experience, you won't make a dime. When I first started, I thought just listing these cars on Turo and these platforms was enough. But then I noticed that the host crushing it and making all of the money had incredible photos, glowing reviews from guests, and extra touches that made renters keep coming back. That's when I realized I wasn't just renting cars, I was selling an experience. Guys, the experience is everything in business. You want to make sure you give customers a great experience. And I'll tell you what, the majority of my customers rent from me multiple times, meaning there is an extremely high lifetime value per customer because of our repeat renters. Do you think they would come back if they had a bad experience when there's hundreds of Turo hosts or hire car hosts or people doing private rentals or even the big corporations like Enterprise? Or do you think they would go to one of those and just say, hey, forget George and his fleet in Pittsburgh? Well, they come back to me for several reasons. We provide amazing customer experience. Every customer is treated great. They receive a clean car, but here's some other ways that I've done it to break down the details. You want to have professional listings. You can hire a photographer to make the car stand out with clean, well-lit photos, or use an iPhone, but just make sure these photos are done extremely well. You want to go above and beyond. Offer some extras sometimes, like phone chargers, delivery if you need to, and making sure that the car is spotless and mechanically sound. Now, I can't stress enough, if I were to say that one thing out of all of these is the most important, I'm going to go with two. Having a clean car and a mechanically sound car. Obviously, a mechanically sound car is going to be more important because you don't want a guest going out there with bad brakes, getting into an accident, and you being responsible for that because you're going to get sued and you're not going to make any money too. So you want to make sure these guests are safe. You are renting cars. These things are serious. This could affect people's life. So don't put something out on the road that you and your family wouldn't drive. It's not good business and morally not very sound. And accommodate your guests. You know, if they need to rent the car a little bit longer, try to let them extend. If they're having issues with the Bluetooth, answer them. Customer service is very important, and customers are really going to judge their experience on how you treat them. So don't be miserable. Don't act like they're doing you a favor at the end of the day. Without them, you're not making any money. And make sure you build relationships. Treat every renter like a VIP. That leads to repeat business and referrals. Like I said, make sure that car is clean. Make sure you get the reviews from the customer. Customers are going to leave you positive reviews, and we have glowing ones here with my fleet. It actually makes me really proud when I get to look at somebody after they rented the car and I see a 5-star experience saying George and his team were wonderful and I would only rent from them. That makes me proud. Besides just the money, it gives me a sense of purpose. I feel gratitude that I'm able to have a successful business like this, and I'm glad about all the relationships and positive experience I've been able to give people in my community and people visiting Pittsburgh. It's a pride and joy for me to see somebody leave a glowing review, and it's not just pride and joy about the glowing review. I'm happy because I know they're going to rent from me again and give me more money, so it's a double win. Now, you might be thinking, this sounds like a lot of work. Well, when I first got into the car rental business, I thought the same thing. I saw other people crushing it with fleets, and I assumed they had a ton of time, money, or maybe some secret that I didn't. But here's what hit me like a ton of bricks. I was already working hard, harder in fact, but I was working on things that weren't building wealth. I listed my first car on Turo, and something incredible happened. Within days, I got my first booking. I barely had to do anything except hand over the keys. This was my aha moment. I realized this wasn't about working harder, it was about working smarter. Now, I've automated the entire process, from messaging to cleaning, making me passive income that I never knew was possible when first starting this business. Once I got past the fear of starting and set up the systems, it wasn't nearly as overwhelming as I thought. The hard work wasn't the business, it was the mindset shift to prioritize freedom over excuses. Guys, here's the summary. Build a fleet that people actually want. Look at the demand in your area and match that demand with the right type of cars. And number 3, focus on marketing and the customer experience. It's not just about the income and the cars, it's about how you make these people feel. Now that you know exactly how I made over $300,000 in revenue over the last year, it's your turn. What's stopping you? Drop your comments down below and I'll make sure that I answer every single one of you. And if you want that personalized one-on-one experience, go to carrentalcoach.com, apply to work with me directly, and I'll make sure that I get you there. Now, see you guys in the next video.